the United States continues to battle a worsening coronavirus situation. More than 60,000 new infections have been reported, taking the national tally close to 3.8 million. Most are centered on several southern and western states. Florida has recorded over 12,000 new cases. Daily infections have exceeded 10,000 for 5 straight days. Other states like Kentucky and Oregon have also set new single-day records. Experts warn the situation could worsen in the coming months.
I take responsibility always for everything because it's ultimately my job too. I have to get everybody in line. Some governors have done well, some governors have done poorly. They're supposed to have supplies. They didn't have. I supplied everybody. Now we have somewhat of a surge in certain areas, and in other areas we're doing great.
Simon Marks joins us live for more on this story. Simon, several states have reported record increases in infections as the outbreak widens. Why are authorities still split over reimposing restrictions?
Well, I think, Steve, because the public is split, and in each of these particular states and jurisdictions, elected mayors and governors are having to make decisions not just about the public health of their own communities, but also about the fate, ultimately, of their own political hides. Because remember that this November is not just a presidential election. The entire House of Representatives, 1/3 of the Senate is up for grabs. Many governors are up for re-election. And these numbers, while they are moving dramatically in the wrong direction, I mean, over the last 14 days, the mortality rate is 64% higher than it was 2 weeks ago. On Sunday alone, nearly just over 62,000 new cases recorded nationally. In the absence of a national policy that's being implemented and orchestrated and ordered by President Donald Trump, who in that television interview there said once again that he has no interest in, for example, mandating the wearing of face masks from coast to coast. In the absence of that, it's falling to individual governors to make their own decisions, and individual governors are looking at their own communities and trying to assess the willingness of those communities, or the lack thereof, to embrace new lockdown measures and new restrictions. It's a very complicated situation.
Simon, and even as the numbers climb, you look at Florida, you look at Texas, the president is saying that the situation is under control. How is that so?
Well, I think one of the questions that arose as a result of that interview on the Fox News channel is it's not entirely clear what kind of data officials are conveying to President Trump. I mean, at one point during a very contentious exchange in that interview, he insisted that the country had one of the lowest mortality rates on the planet, and insisted that a chart be furnished for him to try and prove it to the interviewer, even though those facts are absolutely not supported in any meaningful sense by the data. We're seeing hospital intensive care units in key states like Texas and Florida now completely full. There's enormous uncertainty over the reopening of schools later this year. Remember, President Trump wants them open, but school administrators in many, many parts of the country are not yet convinced that that would be safe. You're seeing an ongoing series of attacks orchestrated by the White House. Last week, a whispering campaign that then went into print in a national newspaper against the reputation of Dr. Anthony Fauci, one of the country's most respected public health officials. So disarray at precisely the time that public health officials say what the country really needs is national leadership to try and galvanize support to bring all of this under control.
All right. Thanks for that update. Simon Marks speaking to us from Washington, D.C.